Hey gorgeous, welcome back to Life in Style. Today's video is going to be a blush declutter. I had to split this up into two videos because if you have seen my videos, if you know my channel, you know that I like nothing more than a fabulous blush. So what we're going to do is we are going to start with my more affordable blushes, drugstore blushes, and just those that are a very good price point. And then what we're going to do is then move on to a second part, which is going to be my more expensive, high-end luxury type of blushes. So we are going to, I'm going to move some of this out of the way, I think, and then concentrate on just a few at a time so it doesn't get overwhelming when you're actually looking at everything. But as you can see here, I have stuff from BH Cosmetics, ELF, NYX, Ulta, Milani, LA Girl, Physicians Formula, just a lot of different blushes, brands of blushes, because like I said, I do love blush. So I'm just going to organize this a little bit, and then we're going to kind of take it little by little so that you don't get visually overwhelmed. So as you can also see, I've zoomed you in a little bit more just so that you can see things a little better. I'm not going to swatch everything, as I've said in another declutter video of mine, because we would be here for just forever. What I decided to do is start out with those blushes that are in palettes, more affordable palettes, and then we can go through each of them and I can talk about the reason why I'm going to keep them or declutter them from my collection. So starting up front here, I have the Femme Rosa collection. This is, I want to say, the second or third collection between, or collaboration between, Carouche and ColourPop. This is basically a face palette because it comes with a bronzer, a blusher, and also a highlight. This is one of my favorite palettes, hands down. I've talked about this before. All three of these items are really great. The highlighter is not the very best I've ever used, but the bronzer and blush are absolutely on point with what I like for my skin tone. Blendability is there, and the lasting power as well. So this is going to definitely stay in my collection. Moving on to my two e.l.f. blush palettes. I have talked about this before, or both of these before. This is the dark collection of colors. I believe, actually I did put both of these in a recent video talking about my favorite blushes, and these were in that video. These blushes are so great, and I love the fact that you get such a really nice color combination within each palette. This is the light variation of the blushes, so they have a light and a dark. I have taken these with me to travel many times because, again, the quality is just good, and in a very small package you have a lot of different blushes that you can use throughout, the couple of days or a week or wherever you're at. So these two are also definitely going to stay in my collection. Moving on to this Kokie Professional Blushing or blush palette, I guess. I purchased this quite some time ago at Walmart. I had actually gone looking for Flower Beauty and realized that they had taken it out of that specific Walmart, and Kokie Professional was in its place. These blushes are really nice, but I don't find myself reaching for this palette quite often, so I am going to go ahead and declutter this. There's nothing wrong with it per se. Again, just that I don't reach for it. I think I maybe have used this palette twice, and I believe I've had it now for almost a year. So moving on to this one, which is the NYX Sweet Cheeks blush collection. This again is one of my favorite blush palettes. The variety is there. You get a lot of different shades, which is really nice because you can mix and match them, or they're just really good for different skin tones as well. I actually have one of these in my freelance kit because, again, the quality is there, the shade selection is there, so I can go into one palette and have different options for different skin tones. This is another one that I have also taken with me to travel when I travel sometimes, because again, the variety is there and I don't have to worry about bringing 7, 8, 9 different single blushes. You just get everything you need in one palette. that. And then this one is definitely going to stay in my collection. I have talked about this a lot. This is the Maybelline Master Blush blush and highlighting palette. This, when it came out, I was so excited, and it certainly did not disappoint. I tend to use these two shades here the most. The highlighter is actually quite good, and surprisingly enough, because you never know what to expect from not only drugstore highlighters, but sometimes highlighters and palettes aren't that great quality. This is just really, really great across the board. And this is another one that I've taken with me as well to travel, because I get a lot of good variety, and I get a nice highlighter in there as well. So moving on to our next collection here of blushes, we're going to start here with this Black Radiance blush, and this is in the color Toasted Almond. This is without a doubt one of my favorite blush colors ever. It is the perfect just shade for my skin tone. It's a beautiful blush, very beautiful on the skin. It lasts a long time and blends out gorgeously. I am going to go ahead and swatch this because, again, the color is just so perfect. It's subtle, but you can build it up, and I love the fact that it's almost between like a peach and a brownie type of color. So again, this just looks so gorgeous on my skin and with my skin tone. So this is definitely one that I am going to be keeping. Moving on to this Essence Satin Blush. It's a touch blush, and it's in Satin Love. I purchased this because I wanted to give this blush a try, but it ended up being quite light on my skin, and I think I've only used it once or twice, so I'm going to go ahead and pass this along to someone who has a lighter skin tone than me that can get away with using this shade of blush. The next one I have here is an Ulta Mineral Blush, and this is in Stargazer. I've talked about this on my channel before. It is a newer purchase of mine. I mean, I've had it probably for several months now, but it is so beautiful and so gorgeous. One of my absolute favorite blushes that I own. So this is definitely going nowhere but staying in my collection. Then these two Ulta blushes are called Bouncy Blushes, and these are basically almost like a cream to powder formulation. I had purchased these last Christmas because they came in a set, so I split some up to give some as gifts, like in goodie bags. I do like little makeup goodie bags for Christmas for like my sister and some other people in my family, and so I split them up and wanted to keep these two. This one right here, which is Crush It, is a little light for me. This one that's Mauve About You actually is a really nice color for me, but I don't like the consistency. When I saw it, I didn't realize that it was like a cream to powder. So I've tried over time to use it and make it work, but cream products just really are not my thing, so I'm going to go ahead and pass these along. The next blush I have here is an Essence Mosaic Blush, and this is in the Berry Connection. These colors are definitely right up my alley, but I don't find myself reaching for this blush a lot, so I'm going to go ahead and pass this along to someone who could possibly get more use out of it. The next two blushes I have, sorry about the ring light there, are from Lottie London. I had purchased these two when I bought a bunch of stuff from Lottie London to do like a full face of first impressions. This is in the shade Zane. The blushes are very nice. The formula is very nice. They're very soft, blend out really nicely, and wear really well too. But this unfortunately is too light for me, so I'm going to go ahead and pass this along. When I realized that that blush was too light for me, I purchased this one, which is in Zac, and it's definitely a shade that's more up my alley, that looks better on my skin tone, so I am going to keep this one because, again, the formulation is very nice. It's just that color that I'm going to pass along is just too light for my skin. The last two in this little smattering of blushes that I have here are from LA Colors. This is called their Rad Rouge Blush. This is in the shade Awesome, and this is also a very beautiful blush. This looks really good on my skin tone, so I'm going to keep this one. And then this one, which is in Radical, is, as you can tell, more of a bluish pink. It's got a good blue undertone there. This is really nice on me when I'm a little darker, because these types of pinks and these shades tend to show up really nicely on my skin when I am tan. So I'm going to go ahead and keep this one as well. This blush formulation is really nice, and these blushes are only a few dollars a piece. So there you get like a really definite high recommend from me for the LA Colors blushes. Moving on to the next wave of blushes that we have, I'm going to start out with the City Color blush. I purchased this, I think, at Five Below, and this is in the shade Blossom. I loved, first of all, the look of this blush, the style of it. Very beautiful packaging. I love the roses there and the flowers on the actual blush. I don't even remember that I've used this even once, so because I don't reach for it often, I am going to go ahead and declutter this blush. The next one I have is from BH Cosmetics. This is their Floral Blush Duo, and this is in the shade Rose. So you get two blushes, or kind of like a highlighter. The highlighter really is nothing to write home about. The blush is very nice, but this again is another one that I don't reach for often, so I am going to declutter this one as well. Then moving on to another BH Cosmetics blush. This is the Floral Blush Duo Cheek Color, and this is in Fiji Fun. I purchased this at IMATS when I went last year. I had been wanting this online, but when I saw it there, I went ahead and purchased it. It is very pretty, but it has a little iridescence to it, and I'm not one necessarily for these glowy type or glittery type blushes, and I don't even believe I've used it once. I know I've swatched it a few times, but just never got around to using it. So for that reason, I'm going to go ahead and pass this one along as well. So these two Wet n Wild blushes are actually some of my favorites. This was also included in my video with some of my favorite blushes. These Color Icon blushes, you just cannot go wrong. This is actually still sealed. I have another one that's open, and that one is in Mellow Wine. This one here is in Pearlescent Pink, but I'll open it so you can see it. You get a very good amount of blush in these containers, and this is only, I want to say, $2.99. I don't really reach for this one too much, because again, it has a little pearlescence there, so I'm going to pass this one along only for that purpose. Again, because the blush itself, the formula of this blush is absolutely wonderful, but because this one is matte, this is, like I said, the Mellow Wine, I am going to keep this one. I have two of them. This is the backup. That's why it's still closed. So then moving on to these two Essence Blush Up blushes. I purchased these at Target some time ago because I heard good things about them. This one is in number 10 Heat Wave. And what I love about this blush is that you have kind of like a gradation of color. You have like a pinkish and peachy color, and I love mixing these colors on my skin. This looks especially good on me in the late spring and throughout the summer, so I'm going to go ahead and keep that one. And then this one is in Pinky Flow, which I love when I want a very, very subtle blush on my cheeks. As you can see, you get from darkest to light there. So what I do is I tend to stick my brush, like stay to this side because it's a little darker, but then I'll swirl just a bit into the lighter side to kind of get a little more glowiness on there. But again, when I want a very light smattering of blush, this is the one that I tend to pick up. Moving on to this blush here, this is from the collab line that Sally Beauty did with a bunch of influencers some time ago. This is a newer collection. Unfortunately, when I bought a lot of the collection, I returned almost everything. I kept the blush because I really did like the blush, and I kept the eyeliner pencil because I already had, used it. But things like foundation and primers and some other stuff, I went ahead and returned it. It just unfortunately did not impress me. And the price point is not horrible, but it was stuff that was probably going to sit in my drawer. So anyway, back to the blush. This one is in Chatty. I absolutely love this blush. It looks so beautiful on the cheeks and natural, and just this gorgeous flush on the cheeks. So I'm definitely going to go ahead and keep this one as well. The last two blushes I have here are from Jordana. I've talked about these before. These I got some time ago. They were buy one, get one free at Kmart before it had closed here. And I took the sticker off the back of both of these, so I can't give you shade names, but this one right here, I just finished using this in my everyday makeup drawer for February, and I gravitated towards this a lot. I haven't used this one yet, and actually before this month, I hadn't used any of them, so I made the conscious decision to pull this one, which is more up my alley with like that mauvey everyday color. It is one of the prettiest blushes I've ever used. What I'm going to do is I'm going to keep this one here, and I'm going to give away the pink one again because I just haven't used it, and I do have a few kind of bluish pink blushes in my collection, so I don't need to have, you know, 20 of the same shade. So I'm going to go ahead and give this to someone who can use it. So since we're almost done, I decided to just bring out the rest of the blushes. So some of them are hiding a little to the side there, but you will see them soon as I continue to roll through this collection. As you can see, I have a lot of duplicates, or not duplicates, but a lot of one brand because these I really do like. Now we're going to start with the ColourPop ones up here. I know a lot of people have issues sometimes with the way the formulation is on the blushes, also with the highlighters and some of the Super Shock shadows, which is like a spongy consistency. I am going to keep 2 of these, and I am going to give 2 away. So I'm going to keep this one here, which is Pegacorn, and I'm going to go ahead and swatch this so you could see this because it's just a really pretty pink color. These, I love the fact that you can build them up without having, you know, showing a lot of texture or getting all, you know, like cruddy looking. So that's Pegacorn right there. I'm definitely going to keep that one. And then the second one I'm going to keep, which I absolutely love, is this New Lows. This shade right here is so beautiful, and I love the way it looks on my skin tone. And there it is right there. And how gorgeous is that color, right? So these 2 I'm going to keep in my collection, and then these other 2, which I'll show you in a minute, I'm going to go ahead and pass along because I have used them, but I don't reach for them as often as the other ones. The purple one here is Rain, which is pretty, but again, I don't tend to kind of gravitate towards it like I did at the beginning. And then the second one that I'm also going to be decluttering is called Pie, which again, there's that kind of bluish pink color, and I already have a few of these, so I'm going to pass this along. So we're going to move up to these Flower Beauty blushes. I can definitely tell you right now I'm not getting rid of either one of these. I have talked about these extensively on my channel. These are the Flower Pots powder blushes. So the first one I have is Sweet Pea, and although it looks light in the pan, it really does add a nice flush to my skin. I tend to use this more in the winter when my skin is a little lighter and not as tanned as it is in the summer months. But as you can see there, beautiful detail of the flower in the blush, which I think they did such a gorgeous job with the packaging. But really the important thing is the blush inside, which is absolutely gorgeous. This one is Deep Peony, which is my favorite of the 2 just because this looks good on me year round, no matter whether I am tan or not, and I really do love the way that looks on my skin. Just a gorgeous, deep kind of mauvey, nude everyday color, and I just absolutely love the way it looks on the skin. So we're going to move on to these 3 Physicians Formulas blushes. I actually had decluttered a lot of these. I had a bunch of them some time ago, and I can't even remember to tell you. So the first 2 I have are Butter blushes. When these first came out, people were understandably up in arms because the colors, I mean, even pale people were complaining that you couldn't see anything on their skin. This light pink here is Rosy Pink, and this kind of peachy color here is Vintage Rouge. So this is the way they both look. I'm sure everyone has seen what these look like before, especially if you've seen the butter bronzers. That is what they look like. They smell like that coconut beachy type, let me just move that aside, beachy type smell that we've come to know with the butter bronzer. I am going to keep both of these because these actually surprisingly look really nice on me. I think that if they were too light, I would go ahead and declutter them, but they both look very nice on me in different ways. As you can see, this one's a little pinker and this one has a little more peach in it. This blush here, I am going to go ahead and declutter. This is the Argan Wear Ultra Nourishing Oil Blush in Rose. I had purchased this quite some time ago, and I want to say it was at a CVS where the Physicians Formula line was on sale for like 75% off, and I just went ham because everything was so inexpensive. It's gorgeous packaging on the blush. It's got like this gold overspray that comes off pretty easily, but I just don't find myself reaching for this anymore, or as much as I used to, so I'm going to go ahead and declutter that one. We're going to move on to the NYX ombre blushes that I have here. I have two of them. I'm not altogether sure how many in total they have, but these are wonderful, wonderful blushes. I am going to keep one and then declutter the other. So the first one that I have is Mauve Me, which one of my favorite blushes. It is just gorgeous. It looks beautiful on the skin. It blends out beautifully. It lasts a long time. I just love the way I get this flush from this blush. This is one that I will definitely continue to repurchase as long as they continue to make it. And the second one that I have here is Sweet Spring. And the only reason why I'm going to declutter it is because it is mega bright. I have tried a couple of different ways to make this blush work, but it is, for me, I feel a little too bright for my skin. So I know that someone else can definitely make better use of it than I have been able to. The next two blushes I have are from Milani. The first one I have is the Blossom Time Rose. This is the rose blush that has a gorgeous flower in the blush itself. This is a wonderful, wonderful blush. The formulation is gorgeous and beautiful, but I can tell you that I don't reach for this as often as I used to. I had kept it in my collection purely because of the packaging, and it wasn't, you know, super expensive in the first place. But I think I'm going to go ahead and declutter this one because someone else can make use of this, again, where I just don't reach for it as often. And it has nothing to do with the formulation. The formulation is absolutely gorgeous on that blush. It's just the fact that I don't reach for it as often. Now this Milani blush is the Color Harmony blush palette in Pink Play. I am going to keep this one. I do use this one quite often and really love it. As you can see, you have variations of pink there, so you can concentrate your brush, if it's not too big, in certain areas, or just swirl it around, which is what I tend to do. And again, the formulation is great. The blush itself looks beautiful on the skin. It blends out beautifully and lasts a long time. As you can see, there is a pattern here where I want blush to not only be pigmented, but last really well on the skin for many, many hours, because no one wants to be reapplying blush 20 times a day. So the next two I have are from LA Girl. These are the Just Blushing blushes. As you can see, that's what they look like. They're like the rectangle shape. And this one right here is Just Playful. This one I am definitely going to keep. It is a lighter blush, but it is a blush that looks really nice on my skin. I can build it up without it showing texture. I can build it up without it looking, you know, overly cakey or feeling heavy on my skin. So this is one that I do like and am going to keep. I do tend to use this more in the winter months when I'm not as tan, but it looks really, really pretty on the skin. The second one I have, which is Just Radiant, I am going to go ahead and declutter. This has, I don't know if you can see it there, but this has like an overlay or overspray of like glitter, and I'm hoping you can see that, and I am just not a fan. When I got it, I didn't realize that it had it because I ordered it online, and I was so disappointed. So that's why I bought the one that I just showed you, but I'm going to go ahead and pass that along to someone who likes more like glowy blushes. And then the last two, but certainly not least, are the Maybelline Fit Me blushes. I could not wait for these blushes, you know, that have been reformulated to come out in the stores. They have a really nice array of shades available, you know, peaches and pinks and lights and darks, and just really, really nice color selection. This one is in Berry, which is my personal favorite, and again, I've talked about this a lot on my channel, and it also made it into the video with my favorite blushes because it's one of those things where I was expecting good things, but still blew me out of the water. It is one of the prettiest blushes I own. It is one of the best blushes I own, whether high-end or drugstore, because it is just so beautiful, sits gorgeously on the skin, lasts for hours without, you know, like seeming like it's just going into thin air. It's just such a beautiful blush. I cannot recommend these blushes highly enough. And then the last shade I have here is Plum, which is a much lighter shade, but it's still a very nice shade, as you could see there. What I think I'm going to do is I am going to pass this shade along, again, not because of the formula, but just because of the shade. It's a little light for me, and I do tend to gravitate towards the berry much more than this one because of that fact. So I'm going to go ahead and pass this along to someone who can make better use of it. So these are all of the blushes that I have decided to declutter from my more affordable or drug store brand blushes. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. I hope I didn't lose count somewhere in between there. I felt like I was going too fast for my fingers. But I know that somebody else can definitely make use of these blushes. And you gotta, you know, these are 17 blushes that were just sitting in my collection, kind of doing nothing. So again, I'm just glad that I was able to choose blushes to go ahead and pass along to friends and family that will make better use of them. So thanks so much for joining me for this blush declutter. I hope it's a video you enjoyed. If you have any questions about the blushes that I decluttered or kept, or want to see any of the blushes that I kept in a tutorial or upcoming video, please just let me know. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Also click the little bell so you get alerted as to whenever I upload new content. Thanks again for joining me, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!